Lyra had been walking for hours under the blazing sun. The ground beneath her feet cracked and dry. Dust swirled in the wind, sticking to her skin and making her eyes water. Her throat was parched, and every step felt heavier than the last. She had left her home behind, a small settlement that had once been lively, but now stood empty and abandoned. Her family's farm had failed after a long drought, and there was nothing left for her there. She had given up everything, her home, her belongings, even her hopes of returning to the life she once knew. Her only thought now was to find shelter, somewhere safe, somewhere she could rest without worrying about the harsh elements or wandering machines left over from the old wars that had scarred the land. Her legs were trembling, and she nearly fell into a shallow ditch. The sun was sinking low on the horizon, painting the desert in shades of orange and red. Lyra's stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten anything for almost a day. In the distance, she saw a faint shimmer, like heat reflecting off the sand. She squinted, trying to make out the shape. It looked different from the usual rocks and dunes. Slowly, she realized it was a structure. Walls made of metal and stone, standing tall against the empty wasteland. A roof. Finally, a chance for shelter. Her heart lifted. Maybe someone lived there. Maybe she could find help. Gathering the last of her strength, she trudged toward it. As she drew closer, she noticed signs of life. Smoke rising from a chimney, the faint hum of machinery, and footprints in the sand. Whoever lived here had built something strong and enduring. Lyra stopped just outside a low fence surrounding the structure. The gate was slightly open. She stepped inside cautiously, her boots crunching softly against the gravel. The yard was quiet, except for the low buzzing of small robots tending to plants and small livestock. Some machines moved slowly, watering tiny crops, while others carried baskets of produce. The sight surprised her. She had expected ruin or emptiness, not life. A voice broke the silence. "Who's there?" Lyra froze. A figure appeared from the main building. A man, tall and broad-shouldered, with scars across his face that gave him a stern appearance. His eyes were sharp, but not unkind. The man's gaze measured her carefully, taking in her dusty clothes, her tired stance, and the look of exhaustion in her eyes. I'm sorry," Lyra said softly. "I'm just looking for shelter. Please. I won't cause any trouble." The man studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slightly. "Come in. But stay where I can see you." Lyra breathed a quiet sigh of relief. She followed him into the yard. The man led her to a small shaded area with benches and a water tank. She knelt beside it and drank deeply. Feeling her strength return slowly, the man watched her silently, arms crossed. "I'm Jarek," he finally said, his voice rough but not unkind. "You're far from anywhere safe. This land isn't kind to strangers." I know," Lyra replied, still coughing slightly from the dust. "I left my home. I have nowhere else to go." Jarek nodded, as if he understood. "You can stay for the night. Tomorrow, we'll see if there's a place for you here." Lyra's eyes widened with gratitude. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." Jarek gave a small shrug. "We'll see if you can help around the ranch. That will be your repayment. For now, rest." The building behind Jarek was larger than Lyra had first realized. It was a combination of metal and stone, with solar panels on the roof and automated machines moving along the walls. It wasn't just a shelter, it was a home, a functioning farm, and a small fortress, all in one. Lyra felt a sense of wonder she hadn't felt in years. Somewhere in this harsh wasteland, someone had built a place where life could continue. As night fell, the air grew colder, and the sky turned a deep indigo. Stars sparkled overhead, more than she had ever seen in her old home. Lyra wrapped herself in a thin blanket Jarek had given her and sat quietly, listening to the soft whir of machines. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. The next morning, Jarek gave her a small task. Help feed the livestock. The automated feeders need checking, and some of the younger animals require attention. Lyra nodded eagerly. She followed him to a corral where small, hybrid creatures grazed on nutrient-rich plants. They were partly biological, partly mechanical, designed to survive in the harsh climate. Lyra felt a spark of curiosity. These animals were unlike anything she had seen before. As she worked, checking sensors and filling feeders, she realized that this place was not just surviving, it was thriving. Jarek watched her silently, occasionally offering a piece of advice or correcting her technique. His eyes softened each time she found a solution to a problem he had struggled with. Despite his rough exterior, it was clear he respected intelligence and effort. By midday, the sun blazed overhead, and Lyra was exhausted but exhilarated. She had fixed a broken water pump and helped a small drone repair a section of the fence. Jarek nodded approvingly. "Not bad," he said. "You might last here after all." Lyra smiled. "I want to. I've never had a place like this before." Jarek looked out over the desert beyond the ranch, his expression distant. "This land is harsh. You'll have to work harder than you ever have. And it will test you in ways you can't imagine." "I'm ready," Lyra said firmly. She meant it. After everything she had lost, she had no choice but to be strong, and for the first time, she felt hope that maybe, just maybe, she could build a future here. The day passed with more chores, repairing solar panels, organizing supplies, checking irrigation systems. Each task revealed more about Jarek's methods and ingenuity. Lyra began to understand that this ranch was more than just a home. It was a symbol of human perseverance, a place where life could continue even in the harshest conditions. As evening fell, Lyra helped prepare a simple meal using vegetables harvested from the automated gardens. She and Jarek ate in silence at first, then gradually began talking. Jarek shared stories of his past, though sparingly how he had traveled across the desert, building his ranch from scratch, learning to survive and thrive where others could not. Lyra listened intently, absorbing every word. When the meal was done, Lyra returned to the small sleeping area Jarek had set up for her. She lay down, staring at the ceiling and thinking about the journey that had brought her here. She had given up everything, her family, her home, her possessions, but in doing so, she had found something new. A chance to belong, a chance to grow, and a chance to be useful in a world that often seemed against her. As she drifted off to sleep, she felt a quiet determination settle over her. The road ahead would be hard. She would have to learn, adapt, and work tirelessly to prove herself. But for the first time in a long while, she believed in the possibility of a future. And in the distance, the machines hummed quietly, the animals stirred, and the walls of the ranch stood firm against the desert night, a promise that even in the harshest places, life could endure. Lyra had arrived in the wasteland, weary and uncertain, but she had found a roof over her head, a place to rest, and the faintest spark of hope. Tomorrow, her new life would begin in earnest. The sun rose slowly over the desert horizon, casting long shadows across Jarek's ranch. Lyra awoke to the soft hum of machinery and the faint chirping of automated birds in the yard. She rubbed her eyes and stretched, still feeling the soreness from the day before. Everything was new, everything strange, yet she felt alive for the first time in months. She could hear Jarek moving in the background, tending to the machines, and she knew he was already deep in work. "Morning," Lyra said softly as she stepped out of the small sleeping area. "Morning," Jarek replied, without looking up. His voice was calm, measured, and precise. "Breakfast is ready." Lyra followed him to a small kitchen area. The meal was simple, nutrient-rich bread, fresh water, and a handful of vegetables from the automated garden, but it tasted like luxury after days of wandering through the barren desert. She ate quickly, savoring each bite. Jarek watched her quietly, his eyes scanning every movement, as though measuring her strength and patience. After breakfast, Jarek handed her a small set of tasks. Today, you'll help with the irrigation system. It's old, partly automated, but the desert sun has damaged several sections. We need them fixed before the next cycle of watering, and don't touch the livestock without asking. Lyra nodded, eager to prove herself. She had never worked with machines or irrigation systems before, but she loved learning. She followed Jarek to the large, open fields where thin pipes and small sprinklers stretched across the dry land. The ground smelled faintly of minerals and dust, and the heat of the morning sun pressed against her skin. Jarek handed her a small toolkit. "Start by checking the junction boxes," he said. "If the sensors aren't reading correctly, the pumps will overwork and break down." Lyra knelt beside a dusty panel, brushing the sand from its surface. She carefully examined the wires, noticing a few connections that had loosened over time. Her fingers worked quickly and skillfully, tightening the connections and recalibrating the sensors. A small green light blinked to life, indicating that the system was functioning correctly. Jarek glanced over her shoulder. "Not bad," he said. "You have an eye for details." Lyra smiled, a sense of pride blooming inside her. "Thank you. I want to help. I can learn quickly." Throughout the morning, they moved from field to field, checking pipes, pumps, and small solar panels that powered the irrigation system. Jarek showed her how to read sensor data and adjust flow rates to conserve water. Lyra absorbed every word, asking questions and suggesting small improvements. Her curiosity was genuine, and Jarek noticed. By midday, the sun blazed high overhead. Lyra wiped sweat from her brow and leaned against a panel, watching the sprinklers spray water in an organized rhythm across the dry soil. It was mesmerizing, almost like watching a dance. "You're improving faster than I expected," Jarek said. He stood a few feet away, his scarred face shadowed in the bright sunlight. "Most people who come here give up after a day or two. They see the work in the desert, and they leave." "I won't leave," Lyra said firmly. "Not now. Not after everything I've lost. I need this. I want to help. Really help. Not just survive." Jarek studied her, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded slightly. "We'll see," he said. "Actions matter more than words. Keep proving yourself." After the irrigation work, they moved to the livestock area. Lyra observed the hybrid animals, creatures partly organic, partly mechanical, designed to survive in the harsh desert. Small machines tended to them, delivering food and monitoring health. Jarek allowed her to assist but reminded her carefully, "Observe first. Don't interfere until you understand." Lyra watched closely, noticing how the animals responded to the machines and to Jarek's presence. She learned which animals required more attention, which sensors needed calibration, and how the automated feeders could be adjusted for efficiency. She was amazed by the balance Jarek had created, a blend of technology and care that allowed life to flourish where it seemed impossible. During a break, Lyra asked Jarek, "How did you learn all this? How did you build something like this in the desert?" Jarek looked out over the ranch, his gaze distant. "I didn't have anyone to teach me. I learned by trial and error. By failing a lot. And I paid attention. I watched nature, machines, and people. And I tried to combine the lessons. It wasn't easy. Some days, I wanted to give up." Lyra nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "I feel like that sometimes," she admitted softly. "When I left my home, it felt like everything was lost. But being here, it feels different. I feel like I can do something. I can be useful." Jarek's eyes softened slightly, though he said nothing. Instead, he handed her a small tool belt and motioned toward a broken fence near the edge of the property. "Fix this," he said simply. "We'll see if you're more than just talk." Lyra worked on the fence carefully, checking each post and wire. She thought about Jarek's words, about the way he trusted her enough to give her responsibility. The work was tedious, but she found a rhythm in it, a satisfaction in seeing progress. By the time she finished, the fence stood firm, ready to protect the livestock from wandering sandstorms or small desert creatures. Jarek inspected her work. He tapped a few spots with his hand, testing the strength, then nodded. Good. You're learning. Lyra felt a warm sense of accomplishment. This was more than just shelter, it was a place where she could grow, a place where her efforts mattered. As the day ended, they returned to the main building. Jarek instructed her to clean the equipment and prepare for the evening. Lyra followed, careful with every movement. She began to notice small details she hadn't before, the way the machines self-adjusted, how the solar panels aligned with the sun, how Jarek moved quietly but deliberately, always aware of his surroundings. By the time the sun set, painting the desert sky with shades of pink and gold, Lyra and Jarek sat outside, eating a simple dinner. The air was cooler now, and a gentle breeze blew across the yard. For the first time, Lyra felt a sense of belonging. She wasn't just a wanderer anymore. She was part of something. I know trust doesn't come easy for you, Lyra said softly, looking at Jarek. But I want to be part of this place. I want to help build something good. Jarek didn't answer immediately. He stared at the horizon, his face calm but thoughtful. After a long pause, he finally said, I've seen people come and go. Some want comfort. Some want praise. Few want the work. If you truly want to stay, you'll need to keep proving yourself. Not just with words, but with effort. I will, Lyra promised. I don't want to fail here. Not now. That night, Lyra lay in the small sleeping area Jarek had prepared for her. Listening to the gentle hum of the machines and the soft rustling of the desert wind outside, she thought about the day, the work, the lessons, the small victories. For the first time in a long while, she felt capable. She felt like she belonged somewhere, and that her efforts could make a difference. Outside, the ranch glowed softly under the starlit sky. A beacon of human ingenuity and resilience in a world that often seemed harsh and unforgiving. Lyra closed her eyes, imagining the days to come, filled with work, learning, and discovery. She didn't yet know what challenges awaited, but she felt ready. With Jarek's guidance and her own determination, she could face them. Tomorrow, she would continue learning. Tomorrow, she would earn a place here. And slowly, she realized, this ranch could become more than just shelter. It could become a home, a future she had never imagined, but now dared to hope for. Lyra drifted into sleep, the hum of the machines blending with her thoughts. Somewhere in the desert, life endured. And here, at this small, isolated ranch, she was becoming part of it. The morning sun spilled golden light across the ranch, glinting off the solar panels and casting long shadows from the fences and machines. Lyra woke early, as usual, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Each day brought new challenges, new tasks, and new opportunities to learn. The desert outside was harsh, but inside the walls of the ranch, life thrived. Lyra stretched and stepped outside, breathing in the crisp morning air. The hum of the machines greeted her, a comforting sound she had grown used to. She watched the hybrid animals wander the fields, their mechanical parts moving seamlessly with their living bodies. There was an elegance to their design, a harmony that only came from careful thought and patience. Morning, Jarek said, emerging from the main building. His gaze swept the yard, checking the machines and the animals with practiced ease. Today, I want you to focus on improving the energy storage. The panels generate enough power, but we lose too much overnight. If you can find a way to store more, we can run the systems longer without repairs. Lyra nodded, eager for the challenge. She had learned so much already about the ranch's systems, but this task was different. It required problem-solving and creativity. She loved that feeling, the chance to do more than just follow instructions, the opportunity to make a lasting impact. She walked to the energy hub, a small building filled with batteries and control panels. Dust covered the surfaces, and some wires were loose from years of use. Lyra carefully examined the system, noting which batteries were inefficient and which could be rearranged for better performance. She sketched a simple plan on a piece of scrap paper, imagining a way to optimize the energy flow and reduce waste. Jarek watched silently as she worked, his arms crossed. He didn't interfere, only observing how she approached the problem. Lyra appreciated his quiet presence. It meant he trusted her enough to try, but not so much that he would let her fail completely. Hours passed as Lyra tinkered, tested, and recalibrated the systems. She moved wires, replaced old components, and adjusted the automated regulators. Sweat dripped from her forehead. But she didn't stop. She felt alive, connected to the machines and the land, as if every adjustment she made strengthened the ranch itself. When she finally finished, she tested the system. Lights glowed brighter than before, and small indicators showed a steady increase in stored energy. Lyra stepped back, a smile spreading across her face. She had done it. She had improved the ranch, made it stronger, and she could see the results immediately. Jarek stepped closer, inspecting her work. He tapped a few panels and checked the readouts. "Impressive," he said, his voice low, but genuine. "This will help the ranch survive longer during sandstorms and heat waves. You're starting to think like I do." Lyra's chest swelled with pride. "Thank you," she said. "I just want to help." Jarek nodded, a faint smile touching his lips. "I know. That's why you're still here." After lunch, Lyra moved on to another task, repairing a broken irrigation pipe near the edge of the property. The desert wind had twisted the metal, and some of the joints had rusted over time. Lyra worked carefully, using tools she had learned to handle only recently. She tightened the connections and replaced old parts, making the system stronger than before. As she worked, Jarek approached. "You're making a difference," he said quietly. "The ranch has survived because I was careful, but it will thrive because of people like you." Lyra paused, wiping sweat from her brow. "People like me?" Jarek nodded. "Yes. Most come and go. But you want to create, not just survive. That matters." The words warmed her. For so long, she had felt invisible, powerless, lost. Here, she was valued. Her efforts mattered. She could help shape a future, not just for herself, but for this place. As the sun began to sink, painting the sky with pink and gold, a small group of travelers arrived at the ranch. They were weary, dusty, and hungry, like Lyra had been when she first came. Jarek met them at the gate. "Welcome," he said. "If you need rest, food, or work, you can stay for a while. But you must earn your place here." Lyra watched the newcomers with curiosity. She remembered her own arrival, how uncertain she had felt. Now, she had the chance to help them, to guide them, and perhaps show them the same kindness Jarek had shown her. Over the next few days, Lyra began mentoring the newcomers. She taught them how to check the machines, feed the livestock, and maintain the irrigation system. They listened eagerly, asking questions, and following her instructions. Lyra found joy in their progress, realizing that teaching others was another way to contribute. Jarek observed quietly, stepping in only when necessary. He seemed to approve of her efforts, though he never said much. Lyra didn't mind. She was learning that actions mattered more than words, and she felt the satisfaction of building something bigger than herself. One evening, after the newcomers had gone to rest, Lyra and Jarek sat outside under the stars. The desert was quiet, the machines humming softly in the background. Lyra felt a deep sense of peace. "You've changed the ranch," Jarek said softly. "Not just the systems, but the people here. They listen to you. They respect you. That doesn't happen overnight." Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I want to help. I want to make it better for everyone. This place, it saved me. I want to save it in return." Jarek nodded. "Good. That's what this place needs. People who care. People who create. People who don't give up when the desert gets hard." Lyra leaned back, staring at the stars. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the choices she had made, and the future she could now imagine. For the first time, she saw not just survival, but growth, not just shelter, but community, not just life, but a future. Over the following weeks, Lyra continued her work, introducing small innovations to the ranch. She built better water storage systems, improved the solar panels, and helped the newcomers learn practical skills. Jarek allowed her more freedom, trusting her judgment, and the ranch began to thrive in ways it hadn't before. The hybrid animals grew healthier, the crops flourished, and the machines worked more efficiently. Lyra watched the small community of settlers and newcomers bond, learning to rely on each other, just as she had learned to rely on Jarek. The ranch was no longer just a place of survival, it was becoming a model of human ingenuity, cooperation, and resilience. One afternoon, as she repaired a small section of fencing, Lyra noticed a group of young settlers struggling to assemble a water pump. She walked over, offering guidance and encouragement. "Try aligning it this way," she said, demonstrating the correct placement. "That should give you better flow and prevent leaks." The young settlers followed her instructions carefully. When the pump worked, their faces lit up with smiles. Lyra felt a surge of pride. This was more than machines and systems, it was about people, teaching, and helping each other thrive. Jarek appeared behind her, watching quietly. "You've done well," he said, placing a hand briefly on her shoulder. "The ranch is stronger because of you, and so are the people here." Lyra looked out over the fields, the animals, and the settlers. She thought about how far she had come from a lost wanderer seeking shelter to someone who could shape a future, help others, and build a home. The desert outside was still harsh and unforgiving, but inside the ranch, life flourished. That evening, Lyra and Jarek sat by a small fire, watching the sky turn dark. "You've grown," Jarek said quietly, "not just in skill, but in confidence. The ranch needs people like you. People who don't just survive, but build." Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of belonging. "I'm ready," she said softly. "Ready to help build the future." Jarek nodded. "Good. Because the desert won't wait. It will test us. Again and again. But together, we can make it thrive." Lyra leaned back, gazing at the stars. For the first time in her life, she felt truly at home. She had found a place where she mattered, where her efforts could make a difference, and where the future was hers to shape. The ranch was more than shelter now. It was a community, a project, and a promise of hope. And in the quiet hum of machines, the rustle of hybrid animals, and the soft wind across the desert, Lyra felt something she hadn't in a long time. The thrill of creating a future, one day at a time, in a place she could finally call home. The desert morning was unusually quiet, the wind barely stirring the dunes. Lyra woke early, feeling a sense of anticipation. Something in the air was different today, subtle, but enough to make her alert. She dressed quickly and stepped outside, where the hum of machines greeted her as usual. The hybrid animals wandered in the fields, and the solar panels glimmered in the rising sun. Everything seemed normal, yet Lyra couldn't shake a feeling that change was coming. Jarek appeared behind her, carrying a small toolkit. His expression was serious but calm. "We have a problem," he said. "One of the main water pumps is failing. If we don't fix it today, the irrigation system could shut down, and the crops will suffer." Lyra's heart raced, not from fear, but from excitement. This was another test, another chance to put her skills to work. "Let's do it," she said, her voice steady. They walked to the central water pump, a large structure surrounded by metal pipes and sensors. A small leak had developed near a critical joint, and the automated system was struggling to compensate. Lyra knelt beside the pump, examining the controls and sensors. She noticed that the backup system wasn't fully functional, and the energy flow was inconsistent. "This isn't just a minor repair," Lyra said, looking up at Jarek. "We need to fix the leak, reroute the energy, and get the backup online, or the irrigation will stop." Jarek nodded. "Exactly. We'll need careful planning and teamwork. Can you handle it?" "I can," Lyra replied firmly. They divided the tasks. Jarek worked on reinforcing the pipes, while Lyra adjusted the energy circuits and rerouted power to the backup system. They communicated silently at first, reading each other's movements, anticipating the next step. Lyra had learned much from Jarek. But now she had to act independently while coordinating with him, a test of skill and trust. Hours passed as they worked in the scorching sun. Dust clung to their clothes, and sweat dripped from their brows. Lyra focused on each connection, each wire, each valve. She checked the sensors repeatedly, making adjustments to ensure the system would function efficiently. Every small success gave her confidence. Every challenge sharpened her mind. By midday, they had repaired the leak, restored the backup system, and stabilized the energy flow. Lyra tested the irrigation, and water began flowing steadily through the pipes, reaching the fields in even streams. The crops drank deeply, and the hybrid animals moved closer to graze on fresh vegetation. Jarek clapped her shoulder lightly. "Well done," he said. "You've proven you can handle pressure and think critically under stress." "That's rare," Lyra smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "It was a team effort," she said. "We did it together." As they rested for a short while, Lyra noticed something in the distance, a small group of wandering settlers approaching the ranch. Unlike the travelers who had come before, these newcomers looked curious and cautious. They stopped at the edge of the property, observing quietly. Jarek squinted at them. "They're curious about the ranch. Probably heard about how we managed to survive and thrive here. They'll want to see if it's worth staying." Lyra felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She knew that newcomers could bring fresh energy, but they could also disrupt the delicate balance they had built. "Should we invite them in?" she asked. Jarek nodded. "Yes, but carefully. They need to understand the rules and responsibilities here. It's not just about shelter. It's about contributing to the community." Lyra approached the newcomers cautiously. "Welcome," she said warmly. "This is a safe place. If you want to stay, you can. But everyone here helps with the ranch. We work together to survive and grow." The newcomers exchanged glances, nodding slowly. One of them, a young man named Kieran, stepped forward. "We've heard about this place," he said. "It's amazing. Can we learn? Can we help?" Lyra smiled. "Yes. I'll show you how things work. It's hard work, but it's worth it. You'll learn, and you'll be part of something bigger than yourself." Over the next few days, Lyra taught the newcomers how to maintain the irrigation, repair small machines, and care for the hybrid animals. She explained how to monitor energy flow, manage water usage, and keep the crops healthy. The newcomers were eager to learn, and Lyra found joy in their progress. Jarek observed quietly, stepping in only when necessary. He seemed impressed by her leadership and teaching skills. Lyra realized that she had grown not just in ability, but in confidence. She could guide others, make decisions, and contribute in meaningful ways. One afternoon, a sudden sandstorm approached the ranch. The sky darkened, and strong winds whipped across the desert. The settlers, machines, and animals were at risk. Lyra quickly gathered the newcomers and instructed them on safety procedures. They secured the animals in sheltered areas, reinforced loose panels, and ensured the irrigation system would not be damaged by the high winds. Jarek moved alongside her, coordinating the work silently. Lyra could feel his respect in the way he watched her take charge. Together, they managed the storm, minimizing damage and keeping everyone safe. When the winds finally died down, the ranch had survived intact. Exhausted but relieved, Lyra and Jarek surveyed the property. The crops were mostly unharmed, the machines continued to function, and the hybrid animals were calm. Lyra felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced a natural challenge and emerged stronger, thanks to careful planning, teamwork, and ingenuity. "You did well," Jarek said quietly, as they walked back to the main building. "The ranch is stronger because of you. And so are the people here. They trust you now." Lyra smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said. "And without everyone else helping." Jarek nodded. That's the point. Survival isn't just about one person. It's about everyone working together, thinking creatively, and never giving up. You're learning that quickly. That evening, the settlers gathered around a small fire, sharing food and stories. Lyra helped distribute the meal, making sure everyone had enough. She listened as the newcomers talked about their lives, their struggles, and their hopes. It reminded her of her own journey, the hardships she had faced, the family she had left behind, and the new life she was building here. Lyra realized that the ranch was more than a shelter or a farm. It was a community, a place where people could learn, grow, and create a future together. She felt proud to be part of it, proud to contribute, and proud to see others thrive under her guidance. As the stars appeared in the desert sky, Lyra and Jarek stood side by side, watching the quiet hum of the machines and the soft movements of the animals. The ranch was alive, not just with technology, but with the energy and determination of everyone who lived there. "You've grown," Jarek said quietly, "not just in skill, but in character. The ranch needs people like you, people who think, act, and care. You've shown you can handle challenges, teach others, and build something lasting." Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of belonging she had never known before. "I want to keep building," she said softly. "I want to help make this place the best it can be." End quote. Jarek nodded. "Good. There will always be challenges, but you're ready. And together, we can face them." Lyra leaned back, gazing at the stars, feeling hope and determination fill her heart. The desert outside remained harsh and unforgiving, but inside the ranch, life flourished. The crops grew, the machines worked, the animals thrived, and the community grew stronger every day. And in that quiet desert night, Lyra understood something important. Challenges were not obstacles, they were opportunities. Opportunities to learn, to innovate, to lead, and to create a future. And here, at Jarek's ranch, she had found a place where every effort mattered, where every action contributed, and where the possibilities were endless. She closed her eyes, imagining the days ahead filled with work, discovery, and growth. She was no longer just a wanderer seeking shelter. She was part of a community, a builder of the future, and a source of hope for those who had none. The ranch was alive, and so was she, ready to face whatever came next. The sun rose slowly over the desert horizon, casting golden light across the ranch. The machines hummed quietly. The hybrid animals moved calmly through the fields, and the crops glistened with dew. Life had returned to a rhythm, steady, alive, and full of promise. Lyra stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the crisp morning air. For the first time, she felt like this place wasn't just a shelter, it was home. Jarek was already at work, inspecting the solar panels. His hands moved with practiced ease, adjusting the alignment to capture the morning sun. He glanced at Lyra, giving a small nod. "Morning," he said. "Morning," Lyra replied, smiling. "The crops look healthy. The irrigation is holding well." Jarek allowed a faint smile to cross his scarred face. "It's a good start," he said, "but we still have work to do. This place is thriving, but it can thrive even more." Lyra felt a surge of excitement. Over the past weeks, she had learned so much about machines, animals, crops, energy systems, and most importantly, about building a community. She had helped teach the newcomers, guided them in repairs, and strengthened the ranch's systems. Now, she was ready to take the next step, turning the ranch into a model of human ingenuity and cooperation. She spent the morning checking the energy storage and irrigation systems, fine-tuning adjustments, and reinforcing weak points. She worked alongside Jarek, who offered advice and guidance, but increasingly allowed her to make decisions on her own. She felt a deep sense of trust and partnership growing between them. By midday, the settlers gathered in the main yard. Lyra had organized a small meeting to discuss improvements and responsibilities. She stood at the center, addressing the group confidently. "We've done well so far," she said. "But we can do more. We can improve the irrigation, expand the crops, and make the energy systems even more efficient. Everyone can help. Each of you has skills to contribute. Together, we can make this ranch stronger and more sustainable." The settlers listened intently. Some were shy at first, unsure if their contributions mattered. But Lyra's encouragement, clear instructions, and patience inspired them. Slowly, hands were raised, ideas shared, and tasks assigned. Some repaired machinery, others tended the crops, and a few worked on building additional shelters for newcomers. Jarek watched quietly, letting Lyra lead. He felt a mixture of pride and relief. The ranch had survived because of his skill, but it would thrive because of people like Lyra. People who could think, act, and inspire others. As the sun moved westward, Lyra and the settlers worked tirelessly. They replaced worn-out irrigation pipes, added extra water storage tanks, and built small wind-powered pumps to supplement the solar panels. The hybrid animals were cared for, and the automated feeders were adjusted for maximum efficiency. Every action strengthened the ranch and created a sense of accomplishment among the settlers. By evening, the ranch had changed. The fields were more productive, the machines ran smoothly, and the community had grown closer. Lyra felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The work had been hard, but the results were worth every drop of sweat. Jarek joined her as she surveyed the fields. "You've done well," he said quietly. "The ranch is stronger, safer, and more productive than it has been in years. And it's because of you." Lyra shook her head. "It's because of all of us. Everyone contributed. We all made this possible." "Had to be Steve all," Jarek nodded slowly. "Yes, but it was you who inspired them. You showed them what's possible." "That's rare." Lyra smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. She had come so far from a lost wanderer seeking shelter to a leader, a teacher, and a builder of the future. And yet, she knew this was only the beginning. The following days were filled with more improvements and innovation. Lyra worked on better energy storage solutions, improved irrigation methods, and introduced small machines to help with planting and harvesting. The settlers adapted quickly, learning from her and from each other. The ranch became a place of learning, growth, and cooperation. One afternoon, a group of neighboring settlers arrived, curious about the ranch. They had heard of the thriving farm in the desert and wanted to see if it was possible to create something similar in their own settlements. Lyra welcomed them warmly, showing them the systems, explaining the innovations, and demonstrating how the settlers worked together. The visitors were impressed. They had never seen such a balance between technology and nature, between humans and machines. They asked questions, took notes, and even offered ideas of their own. Lyra listened carefully, learning as much from them as they did from her. Jarek joined her at the edge of the yard. "Look at that," he said quietly. "People are learning from us now. That's the real measure of success. We're not just surviving, we're inspiring." Lyra nodded, her heart swelling with pride. She realized that the ranch was no longer just a home. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when people worked together, used their minds, and never gave up. As the weeks passed, the ranch continued to grow. The settlers built additional shelters, expanded the gardens, and introduced new hybrid animals. The machines ran more efficiently than ever, and the crops flourished. Lyra and Jarek worked side by side, planning improvements, teaching newcomers, and ensuring the ranch remained a safe and productive place. One evening, after a long day of work, Lyra and Jarek sat on a small hill overlooking the ranch. The sun was setting, painting the desert in shades of orange and pink. The machines hummed softly. The hybrid animals wandered peacefully, and the settlers moved about their tasks with quiet purpose. "You've built more than a ranch," Jarek said softly. "You've built a home, a community, and a future. And you've done it without asking for praise." "That's rare," Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "It's not about praise, she said. "It's about making a difference. About showing that life can thrive, even in the harshest places." Jarek nodded, his eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "And you've done that. You've shown that humanity can endure, adapt, and create. That's what matters." Lyra leaned back, gazing at the desert. She thought about her journey, the family she had left behind, the home she had lost, and the life she had built here. She realized that giving up everything had been necessary to find something greater: purpose, community, and hope. As night fell, the ranch glowed softly under the starlit sky. Machines hummed, animals settled, and the settlers gathered around small fires, sharing stories and laughter. Lyra walked among them, helping where needed, offering guidance, and sharing in their joy. She felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. Jarek joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "This is your home now," he said quietly. "Not just the buildings or the machines, but the people, the work, the future. You've earned it." Lyra looked around, seeing the thriving ranch, the happy settlers, and the life that had been built from scratch in the middle of the desert. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and accomplishment. "I never imagined this," she said softly. "A home, a future, and people who care. I finally feel like I belong." Jarek nodded. "You do. And you've helped others belong as well. That's the real strength of humanity. Not just surviving, but creating, improving, and inspiring." Lyra smiled, looking at the stars above. She thought about the challenges they had faced: the harsh desert, failing machines, newcomers learning the ways of the ranch and how they had overcome them together. She realized that the ranch was more than just a place to live. It was a testament to human resilience, ingenuity, and determination. As the night deepened, Lyra walked to the edge of the fields, watching the desert stretch into the distance. She thought about the future, the growth, the innovations yet to come, and the new settlers who would join them. She felt a deep sense of hope, knowing that together, they could overcome any challenge and build a thriving community in the harshest of places. And in that quiet desert night, Lyra understood something important. Home is not just a place. It is where people work together, create, and care. It is where efforts matter, where lives are improved, and where hope is nurtured. The ranch was her home. And now, it was a home for many. Lyra closed her eyes, feeling the hum of machines, the gentle movements of hybrid animals, and the warmth of community around her. She had given up everything to survive. But in doing so, she had found everything she needed: purpose, friendship, and a future she had never imagined. The desert outside remained harsh and endless, but the ranch stood as a symbol of human resilience. Life had returned, stronger than ever, and in the heart of it all, Lyra smiled, knowing she had helped build something enduring: a home, a community, and a future filled with endless possibilities.